Hey everybody, Evan Kirstel here. Super excited for this chat today with Jared Martin, Chief Product Officer of TPX Communications, a managed services powerhouse. Jared, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's getting chilly here in New England, as you know better than I, but we're not going to talk about that today. Really excited to dive into the new world of managed services making IT easier. And that's going to be a big theme here. Maybe introduce yourself, Jared, to the viewers here. And for those who don't know, who is TPX?
Sure. So I'm Jared Martin, and I'm the Chief Product Officer at TPX. And we are a nationwide managed services provider, and we focus in the communications, the networking, the core IT systems and infrastructure space, as well as on the cybersecurity side.
Fantastic. And tell us about the evolution of TPX. You've come a long way as a traditional telecom provider. We used to call them CLECs. To really a managed services powerhouse across multiple applications and segments. What was that journey like over the years?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey because we started as Telepacific. We've made some
Hmm.
acquisitions. I mean, as you mentioned, CLEC is in our DNA. It's really where we started. But about 7 years ago, we started looking at how do we evolve with the market because the CLECs really were just becoming more of a Me Too service and looking
Mm.
at bandwidth and the race to zero and things like that. So for us, we started looking at the managed IT services and how we could expand. So at that time, I actually ran our managed services line of business. And we started offering the baseline managed IT services that have evolved and grown in the portfolio today. But it's interesting because you look at how we've even evolved the name. It was Telepacific, then it was TPX Communications, and now it's TPX. So we've dropped the communications, although it's still a core part of what we do. But for us, it's really about how do we solve those problems for the customer. So
Mm.
it's about listening, being that trusted advisor, and really digging into, okay, what business outcomes are they looking for? And how can we leverage what we bring to the table to help them achieve those outcomes? And it's not the commodities based CLEC type of services. I mean, these are our true managed services where we're getting in and looking end to end in that customer's environment. And then, of course, layering on the cybersecurity in multi layers to help them stay secure. So it's been an interesting journey. I've been here for 13 years. This is my
Oh
13th
wow.
year here. I came by way of an acquisition. So I sold a managed services business to a CLEC, and then we were acquired by, at the time, Telepacific. So it's really fun to just see that evolution and then come now full circle to be really a premier managed services provider out there in the space.
Well, it's a fascinating story for us telecom insiders. Let's talk about cybersecurity. It's top of mind on every discussion I have in tech these days. And, it's a real challenge if you're an enterprise. How do you deploy, 18 vendors to solve different facets of the cybersecurity challenge? And I always thought managed services was the way to go for security. But let's hear from you. What makes your managed services solution fit with this current landscape of cyber threats out there?
Right. So, I mean, I think you hit it on the head, Evan. It's that you have this convoluted, very complex marketscape of different vendors providing different solutions. And if you look at our target customer, which is the small to mid-sized business, although we have plenty of enterprises as well,
Mm,
but really we're looking at that sub 1,000 users, and the sweet spot for us is really in that 100 to 500 range in terms of users. This is a complex problem for them. If they go out and they try to solve for their security needs, particularly if they have regulatory requirements, because different
mm,
industries have different regulations. They're having to check all these boxes. And you can't just check the box these days because it's really not a matter of if, but when you're going to have some sort of cybersecurity incident. And unfortunately, people are the weakest link. And so you start with that security awareness training, but it's only as good as the people paying attention and then the reinforcement of that. And then, what's interesting is all of these other vendors. So you look at endpoint management, you look at firewalls for the edge of the network, the perimeter of the network, and you look at devices that can move around with people. And now we're in this hybrid work environment where you have people plugging things into their home networks that are now getting an on ramp into the corporate network. There's all of this complexity, and so for that mid market and small business customer, it's a challenge for them. And so for us, what we do is we really look at come in and we offer advisory services that allow us to really assess where they're at. So that's an important part of our stack of solutions is how do we assess where they're at in their cybersecurity journey? Do they have regulatory compliance that they have to deal with that we can help with? And then figure out what the gaps are and come up with really that multi-layered solution. But we take the complexity out of it. So for us, we have partnered with best of breed technology solutions, and then we layer our managed security service on top of that, where we've got the security experts. We're not the customer's not having to go out and find those people. Cybersecurity talent is hard to find, it's expensive,
Mm,
and it's really out of reach, I think, for a lot of the small to mid-sized businesses out there. So using a managed service provider, as you mentioned, is really the easiest way to go for those customers. They can come in, we take that complexity out, and then we're able to use experts that we have that we're able to retain to really provide that completed service to those customers, because it is complex. You're right.
brilliant. And you have a lot of new technologies hitting SMBs and enterprises, the Internet of Things, 5G devices, bring your own phones, all kinds of new wireless services. Do you take those into consideration on sort of managing and supporting your clients as well?
Right. So if you look at like IoT, for example, and we'll look at that and we'll look at bring your own device. So a lot of enterprises and even small and mid-sized business out there are now allowing people to bring their own devices. Well, one, you got to be able to secure those things and
Mm,
properly manage them. And so when we look at our solution stack with the bring your own, it just fits into what we do. So as we look at how we get to more zero trust network and how we can do some of the device management to make sure that
mhm,
these devices are within compliance. Like our managed endpoint solution, for example,
mhm,
really helps drive compliance on a device, whether that device is brought by the end user or it's a corporate provided device. And that's honestly one of the rules that most of these businesses put in place is if you're going to bring your own, you got to let us put our software on it. So there's definitely some things that have to be considered there, but as we look at just that complete stack. So for IoT, you've got to power how those devices connect. And that's really what we're doing in the IoT space is providing that reliable network connectivity, whether that is from the LAN, the Wi-Fi, 5G, or traditional broadband type access. It's really managing that end to end and being able to look at that and say, okay, from the point that the customer connects to that network all the way through that entire path that they have to take, is there a problem? And if there is, can we solve that? Because in many cases, some of these devices are mission critical. So they need to be monitored. The network has to be monitored. And that is all really what we're doing to empower, the IoT and the bring your own in that space.
fantastic. Well, sounds like quite a value add for customers. Um, I mean, the other challenge that you're seeing is this new kind of chaotic world of hybrid work. We're still seeing a lot of remote workers. That isn't going away. And distributed work, work from anywhere, I guess, is the best way to call it. And you have just this, plethora of options for communications and collaboration, UC as a service. And
Mhm.
it can be quite challenging navigating this space, which tool, which service to use. You have dozens of options, many, many good ones. Um, so is that something you play in the UCaaS space with managed services offered there as well?
Yes, absolutely. And it's one of the areas we're evolving. I mean, you see a lot of people went with Zoom, and then you had,
Hmm.
Microsoft with Teams, and then you've got WebEx that's been around for a long time. So
Now it's all the
um,
above.
yes, all of the above, and then you've got all the other players that are out there too. And so our primary UCaaS solution is built around WebEx. However, we have Microsoft practice where we're building out Teams. I think it's one of the areas that we're looking to really innovate is on the Teams front as we evolve our portfolio. So next year we'll be introducing some new things around Teams with managed services, and then trying to leverage some of the AI with Copilot and things like that. These are all top of mind things. How can we leverage this to be smarter in our hybrid work environments and our work from anywhere solutions? So for us, it's really how do we evolve that to be more of a managed service that brings value to the customers versus just a collaboration and communications tool. There's also a lot of people out there that still have their legacy PBXs. They haven't
Mm,
adopted a cloud communication strategy. And the way we look at that is we can bring a hybrid solution in to give them the best of both worlds. If they want to keep that system, they can keep it, but we can layer on the benefits of that hybrid environment by leveraging the collaboration tools side by side seamlessly with their legacy platforms. And that gives them a little bit more runway to be able to transition into, really a more cloud-based communications front. But I think that for us, the foundation is in our managed networking and managed security components that we have, and then it's a logical adjacency with the collaboration. So we bring that collaboration in, and those customers are able to get more of a comprehensive solution. Because really, at the end of the day, when you're looking to outsource IT, in a lot of cases, you're looking to outsource as much of that as possible, especially when you're a small to mid-sized business, and you don't want to go to 5 different places to do it, because then you're kind of eroding the value that the managed service provider can offer. So for us, having that communications and collaboration piece is important. It is absolutely a core pillar of what we do.
fantastic. And describe your footprint as a managed service provider. We're a big country. Can you handle and support customers wherever they are across the country in any city, town, metro today?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
we are a nationwide managed service provider, and I think it's one of the things that sets us apart, honestly. So there's a lot of regional players out there, and the regional players are fantastic. They provide a lot of value to the customers they serve. For us, it's how do we take that kind of approach, the regional approach, but then scale it nationwide so we
Mm,
can bring that value. And we have customers that have offices nationwide, but then we have customers that maybe in one locale, and that's it. And it could be some rural area, but we're there to meet the customer where they're at. And that geography, really within the United States, we cover it end to end. I wouldn't say that we're really an international player, but we
mhm.
do have customers headquartered in the US where we do provide services to their international locations. It's just not our focus. We're focused really coast to coast within the US.
Interesting. That's good to know. I did not know that. Talk about your experience working with customers, your customer experience. As many of us know, it's not that easy to work with our big telco friends. If you're an SME at a Verizon or AT&T, I won't name names, but we know who you are. How's your approach maybe different than traditional telcos? You were a traditional telco, and what are the expectations there? In addition to maybe touting your own horn, what do customers expect today from MSPs?
Well, I think customers expect value. If they're
Hmm.
going to a managed service provider, they want value. That's like table stakes, honestly. If you're not
Mm,
providing value, why am I paying you as a managed service provider? And I think making sure the customers understand that value is an important part of that journey. So, and that value could be something as simple as a report they get that says, "Hey, we prevented X number of cyber threats from ever getting into your network this month."
oh wow.
And maybe it was completely transparent to them. They didn't see it, but that's the other problem is if you're doing things proactively as a managed service provider and you're doing your job, the customer really shouldn't know many of those things until you go and give them data on it, because for them it's about their business continuity. They want to drive, their business staying online, being productive. And so being able to say, look, we did these things for you is important. So for TPX, that's one of the things that we're really focused on, is how are we the easiest MSP to do business with? That's
Hmm.
really our focus. And being able to say, okay, from the time you have your first interaction with us until you offboard, how can we make that easy? And I think the
Hmm.
offboarding is an important piece too. I can tell you, I've had to cancel business services myself, and it's painful. And we don't want it to be
Hmm.
painful, because guess what? If that customer leaves us for some reason, maybe we couldn't offer something they need, or maybe there was some other compelling reason for them to go. We want them to remember they had a good experience leaving us, and so if they come back when they figure out it's not so good on the other side, that's why they come back, because they had a good end-to-end experience. So to me, that's really what being the easiest MSP to do business is all about. It's every step along the way, making it easy for the customer, making them understand that value and showing that value, and being as proactive as we can. I think that is what separates a good MSP from a bad one, is how proactive are you and how easy do you make that experience for the customer.
Wow, I've never heard of someone talk about offboarding. It's always onboarding and
Right.
ease of use.
I mean, we don't
That's a
want to lose a
first.
customer. I mean, trust me. But if they're going to leave, you want to make sure that they have a pleasant experience, because they're going to remember that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about trends, and maybe some insight into your monitoring and sort of management infrastructure. I imagine that's your one of many secret sauces. You take it for granted, oh, managed networks, but what goes behind that? Maybe a sneak peek behind the curtain in terms of how you approach a managed network from a tech and human resources standpoint.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, everybody hears the buzzword AI, or the buzz phrase AI
Hmm.
right now. You hear machine learning, automation, all of this stuff. So, we've been going through a massive transformation as a business on our back office, which has really enabled us to take advantage of these types of technologies. So, we're actually relaunching our entire managed network portfolio in the first quarter, and that will be driven by AI. And so, what we're looking at there is, how do we get to trouble resolution faster? How do we solve things without a technician or the customer ever having to be involved, and leveraging all of this brain power that exists within hypercompute, to then be able to say with these models, okay, if this user is experiencing this type of problem, let's pinpoint the issue. And let's say it's a managed Wi-Fi customer and they're having issues connecting, we'll automatically dial up the radio power and be
Hmm.
able to address that if that is going to solve the issue. Or if there's a problem on a switch, being able to identify that, and if corrective action can be taken, do it. If not, alert the technician that it gets assigned to. Here's the triage information. Here's all of the troubleshooting that was automatically done, leveraging the AI models. And then here is what needs to be done, but it's just something that maybe you don't let the AI do. And so it needs that human touch, or that human intervention. So I think there's several opportunities really to leverage that. So for us, there's just so much information and data out there. I mean, think about it. Managed service provider, you're looking at all of this data coming in, telemetry data for security, et cetera. I mean, we have to be able to leverage that and provide that good experience. So being able to monitor for things that are happening, being able to proactively act quickly, either through automation with AI helping us along the way, or doing the baseline support automated, but then having the human touch. Those are all important components of what we're doing.
I love that. Seems like a very practical approach. Um, do you have any particular verticals or industries, or are you getting particular traction in? I imagine you have a pretty bird's eye view of your customers and what they're doing and where. Anything you want to call out, even certain customers who might be doing interesting work with you.
Well, we the great thing is we span all the verticals, but we have a lot of
Okay.
we have a lot of success, honestly, in many of the regulated areas like retail,
Hmm.
and financial. We have a lot of financial institutions, a lot of
Nice.
retail customers, um, and really looking at how we can take what they need across multiple locations and make it simple. That's really, I think, one of the areas where we see a lot of success is multi-location, multi-service customers,
Mm,
because again, the more services you consume, the better, broader view we get, where we can be more proactive across the board. So if we see you from the edge of your network all the way to the endpoint, there's a lot of stuff in between. And so we can provide a lot of value. And what you find with what we really particularly see in retail is customers, they want for their retail location, they want this setup, and it's the same setup at every location. And then they want that management in place where you're able to quickly solve their problems and be able to help provide that secure environment. Same thing in the financial sector. They're looking for security. So how can we provide security along the line at all of the proper gates? That's really what we're focused on in those areas. So we have a lot of success with those, and manufacturing too. I would say are big
interesting.
ones we see.
Well, we have the big NRF, the big retail show coming up in New York City next year. We should probably do a deep dive on retail. It's amazing how much modernization and transformation retailers, both physical and e-commerce retailers, need. There's still a lot of pots. I think you'd be shocked, or you wouldn't be shocked. A lot of folks would be shocked to see how many POTS lines are still out there and being
Yes,
turned off or maintained for
right.
ridiculously
It,
high
it's
prices.
it's staggering. It's staggering for sure.
So, what are you excited about as we get towards the end of the year? Do you have any travel or other uh, professional activity worth shouting out? I know you are a lot of places all the time. Your team, what are you looking forward to as we close out the quarter?
I'm looking forward to ending the year strong.
Mm,
We have a lot of really good offers, and people have hardware dollars to spend as they move towards the end of the year, typically. So I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. I also am looking forward to us closing one of the key chapters in our transformation and launching some brand new network monitoring capabilities that are driven by some of that machine learning we were talking about. We have some of that launching actually this week, and we have some other stuff launching in December. And that really, to me, is just, it gets me excited because I like to see new things and to be able to take advantage of what we've got out there. I'm looking forward to a strong close to the year for sure.
strong close is always a good thing. Well, thank you so much for chatting. You're up in Portland, Maine. I'm here in Boston. What's your strategy for surviving Maine winters? Do you have any, besides mine, which is getting out of Dodge and going to Florida or someplace warm? Do you have any approaches there to Maine winters?
Yes, ski a lot. Yeah,
Okay, well, that's a
yeah.
embrace it. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I embrace it. I'm from Texas, and I had hot weather all my life. I embraced the cold, and my entire family we're all avid skiers. So we are out there on the slopes every chance we can get because it makes the winter go faster.
And it's great activity, great for the mind and soul as
Yes,
well as the body. So have fun skiing, Jared. Thanks so much for joining and just sharing a brief update. And thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to TPX with any questions or comments.
thank you, Evan.
Thanks.